What are you saying, bro? You ready for another lesson?
Man, I can't wait, man. It's been a while, so...
That's a screw.
You can even tell already, you know?
Hey, right rudder, that's it.
Good wheel 01, you can backtrack now.
Need to be over the field in between the two.
Alright.
What do you know about increasing the angle of bank?
Full speed.
Exactly.
You're fine, you're on the centre line, and then suddenly you're not, bro.
Next time you're in a grass, bro.
That landing. Whew. I'm worn out.
Are you aiming to be a commercial pilot?
Yes, at some point.
Yes, that's all. These calls, they have to be made in a commercial environment. Well done, mate. You're going to make a good commercial pilot.
Thank you.
I'll walk up behind the aircraft.
You're very behind the aircraft. We've got a fuel leak. Have we? Yeah.
By the way, Roger whiskey, sorry, which is quite strong. Mate, you're going to make a good commercial pilot.
You still have control.
No, you tell me when you want to take control. You tell me when you want to take control.
Ever? Do I have to?
Yes. As I say so. Bear in mind, you're going to have to work with what you've got, normally. What do you need?
This one. Oh. I'll make use of what I've got. Previously on Future Pilot 901.
Okay, how you feeling?
Feeling good?
Good. You're gonna go solo.
Okay. Student Will 08 is ready for departure. We are off.
Student wheel down, away. Surface wind is 330 at 9 knots. We've got one to vacate.
Student Will 08.
Charlie Kilo is right base, get out to land. Student wheel 08, minute takes and well done.
This aircraft is so nice to fly with.
Yeah, very nice.
Victor Golf, clear 20 Southing Victoria airspace now in the climb task chute 3,000 feet, heading 090 degrees.
Yes, 3,000 feet is very nice and smooth.
Yeah.
It's not like in the cloud.
Resume that location, Sierra Lima Biddle. This comes the procedure report on low flight established.
The whole point of getting your IMC is you fly clouds. That's sort of where we are roughly. See?
Okay.
So we came in for an approach on runway 23. We did a missed approach, and now we're being vectored around to do another approach into runway 23.
Ever since I was a kid, I had a dream of becoming a pilot, but could never afford it. One day I decided to stop making excuses, to sacrifice my comfort, to make my dream happen. My name is Dee, and this is my journey. This is Future Pilot 901. Three, two, one, and we're live. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is your future captain speaking. My name is Dee. Welcome to Future Pilot 901 Live. The show is brought to you every Monday on Kick and YouTube, 7 p.m. British summertime. This is, after all, the show where we keep our fingers on the pulse of general aviation. Shout out to my future pilots out there. Shout out to my aspiring pilots out there. Shout out to my qualified pilots out there. Shout out to my constantly trying to improve pilots out there. Shout out to my constantly growing and trying to inspire others to become pilots out there. Happy Monday, people. Happy Monday. We made it. Yes, sir. It's good to be alive. It's good to be alive. It's good to be alive. Yes. It's good to be alive, and it's good to be live. Welcome to everybody in the chat. Make yourself known. Do not be a lurker and a stalker. Yes. Do not be a lurker and a stalker. All right? Make yourself known, because I want to shout you out. We have some MVPs that usually pass by. If you are on Kick, and you are somebody that I know, you may be able to secure yourself a VIP badge. And if I know you, because I know a whole bunch of people watch, and they tell me on the side, but they never come and comment. What's going on with you guys? I can make you a mod. I need some mods. So make yourself known. I'm having a look at the Kick chat and the YouTube chat. So, ladies and gentlemen, today is a very special episode, I have to say. In addition to the usual stuff, where we cover updates from the AAIB, or the Air Accident Investigation branch. And there's a pretty tragic story that we can learn from today. On top of covering some of the updates from the CAA, on top of following some of our favorite aviation YouTubers, I will also, for the first time ever on the show, be talking about money. Yes, sir. Shout out to Cast and Create. Thank you for passing by. I will be talking about money. Now, I've planned to talk about that right at the end, so that I can get rid of those people who shouldn't be getting the best of the show. Because if you're just catching the beginning and you ain't catching the end, you won't be getting the goodies. Yes, sir. You will not be getting the goodies. Pause. All right. But yeah, we're going to talk about money, and it's something that I want to develop a little bit more, because I've been doing it for the last few years. I've been an investor for the last few years, and I'm very keen on getting people to start investing money, to stop being, short-sighted about money. Of course, everyone's still a work in progress. So am I. I'm still a work in progress. So I'm definitely, and none of what I do is from a position of I know better. It's more just here's some thoughts, here's some things I've discovered, and hopefully you'll join in the chat and share some pointers as well, because it's all about uplifting each other and working to live that dream. So we'll be talking about money a little bit later on. All right, people. All right, let's get rid of that. Where is... There we go. All right, let's see what is in the flight bag to start with. Okay, so one of my favorite topics to deal with as we kick off this episode, and this is episode number 15. That's 15 weeks of consistency, people. That is 15 weeks of consistency. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. As we kick off this episode, I want to talk about what is my favorite topic. And it's my favorite topic because for years, it paralyzed me. It prevented me from going after my dream. And that is the F word. The F word. What F word am I talking about? What F word am I talking about? What F word am I talking about? No dirty minds in the chat, please. This is a family show. Yes, sir. These lights are bright. What's the F word, guys? The F word is failure, or AKA mistakes. Mistakes. I'll tell you guys a little bit of a story, since I do like to tell a story. I was once working in a school as a teaching assistant, and it was a special school. And I love special schools because the focus isn't trying to teach them this. It's about learning your student even more. You know, good teachers do it in mainstream, but in special schools, it's more of like something that's pushed. Get to know your students, adapt to them so that they can learn best. And so when I started walking around, you know, this new school, I was working with children who have autism. Now, I was used to working with children with like challenging behavior, but never autism. And definitely not the way that it manifested in that school. But I walked around the school and I was new and I was like, wait, I'm out of my depth. And I came across something that I want to share with you guys. I came across this. Let's split it. And let's adjust that. Bam, bam, bam. I came across something like this. And I was like, yo, this is interesting. I'd never seen this anywhere else. In this class, mistakes are expected. I'll swap them around. Respected, inspected, corrected. Or a good way to remember it is mistakes are Eric. They are Eric. And today, mistakes is the nickname of failure. So I could say failures are expected, respected, inspected, and corrected. Now, what does that mean? Do you apply this in your life? You know, it's a bit of self-reflection. That's what it's all about, man. If you don't self-reflect, you cannot improve. So the first thing, I think, approaching failure is expecting to make mistakes. That's the first part, because a lot of people get paralyzed, right? And I used to get paralyzed from making a mistake. Then I don't want to try anymore, right? Then I don't want to put myself out there. I don't want to give that speech. I don't want to start that live show. I don't want to write that application. I anticipate failure, and my imagination of myself is a life without failure and a life without mistakes. And so to avoid it, to make that true, I just don't try anything. Ladies and gentlemen, that is not the way to live your dream. I can tell you that. I lived it. I tried it for many years. It didn't work. It did not work. And so now I try to remind myself that actually, wait, I'm learning this new thing. I'm going to expect to make a mistake or two. Yeah. But what I'm expecting is progress over time. See? Expect progress over time. Don't expect to be perfect. Expect progress over time. So mistakes are expected. Failure is expected. Hey, I'm going to lose. Sometimes I will apply and not even get past the first stage. You know, maybe I might go to the assessment and I might absolutely botch it. But guess what? I guarantee you one thing. I will learn. That's for sure. I guarantee you that. And respected, you know, like I think we need to give ourselves a bit of grace. The fact that you made a mistake, the fact that you failed, it means you tried and you need to pat yourself on the back. Come on, pat yourself on the back. Pat yourself on the back. You tried, all right? You tried. You tried. You could have not tried, yeah? So you have to remember that. You have to remember that you tried. And that's worth something. And then the next part is inspected. Inspected. Now, some people, and it's easy to do, we want to run away from our failures. We want to avoid it. We don't want to think about it. We don't want to talk about it. We don't want to revisit it for obvious reasons. We don't want to revisit it. Shout out to people on the chat. If you're not subscribed, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Hit the like, hit the share, let people know we're here. In fact, I will very soon post that I am live on the Instagram. But yes, so we got to, what do we have to do? We have to inspect it. We have to face it. We need to look in the mirror. The amount of people, can you imagine the amount of people that go, I record my voice, I can't stand the sound of my own voice. So if you can't stand the sound of your own voice, why should we have to deal with listening to it? Think about it. Why should we have to listen to your voice and you can't listen to your own voice? Because you can't look into the mirror, all right? It's hard. It's not easy. It's tough. It takes practice. Sometimes it's harder. Sometimes it's easier. But we have to look in the mirror. We have to inspect. And we have been reading this book. No, I don't even know where to put it. See, I expected that mistake. We've been reading this book, Performance Pilot, and we've got to the chapter about self-coaching. Self-coaching. And why do you self-coaching? Why do you self-coach? And this book is Performance Pilot, Skills, Techniques, and Strategies to Maximize Your Flying Performance, which really could apply to any other area of life. Quote, self-coaching is the technique of guiding yourself towards maximizing your performance and improvement in everything you do. The key, the name of the game is improvement. Parts of self-coaching is self-debriefing. We call it debriefing in the aviation world. The primary objective of debriefing is to increase your awareness. Now, if you guys have been following the show, you would know something, this formula, which is the formula to improve your performance pretty much in anything. MI is mental imagery, right? You need to have the perfect picture of what you're trying to attain in your mind. If you are trying to perform the perfect landing, you need to have an image in your mind of what the perfect landing looks like. And then what you need is an awareness of what you're doing in the moment, right? So I've got the perfect image, and then I actually do the landing, and I'm flaring too high, I'm flaring too low, I am not pulling the power enough, I'm not putting enough power in, and having that awareness in the moment. So the idea of self-coaching is about increasing this part of the equation, the awareness part, yeah? Increasing that. And it involves asking yourself questions, aka inspecting. So I'm going to share with you some of the things that they suggest. So for example, when you're debriefing a flight, it's very easy to focus on the big parts, right? The landing, focus on maybe takeoff performance, things like that. So I'll give you some questions, some examples of deviations from that, and maybe more detail, right? You can get yourself the book if you like to go into more detail. I'll just kind of pick out some that stand out for me. So you've got sections, right? When you're evaluating yourself in anything, it's better to break it down in sections, because then you can get more detailed. That's what I suggest. So you got the pre-flight, which is your preparation. You got your taxi and departure. You got the takeoff and climb. You've got the cruise. You've got your maneuvers. You've got your descent and arrivals. And then obviously if you're doing instrument approaches or traffic patterns and circling approaches, you can look at that as well. Landing, taxi, and post-flight. I'll just mention a few questions just to spark the thought. Did I ensure that all the required documentation was on board? Things like that. Was I prepared? Did I brief all the appropriate and pertinent information? I remember when I first started flying, don't tell no one, but let's just say I wasn't in good practice of reading the NOTAMs. Now, it's not because I was trying to be, a maverick or trying to be this, that, and the third. It's just, it wasn't in my practice. And unfortunately, despite the fact that I had great instructors, I didn't practice it during my training of looking at the NOTAMs. They would just kind of tell me there's nothing in the NOTAMs, but never actually handed off that responsibility to me. But I still had some great instructors, taking nothing away from them. So I had to then notice, wait, I'm actually not briefing myself with all the information. I need to get on that, right? And then in the taxi, things like, were you easing on and off the brake, or were you kind of abrupt with it? These are kind of non-typical things. And what you can do is actually create yourself a document, like a Google Doc, where you have this as a template. And each time you add it, because one of the things that they suggest is having a record, maintaining a record of your flights and your debriefs. It's very important. Very, very important. So do you do that? Whatever it is you're trying to improve in, are you debriefing yourself? Are you, first of all, expecting that you're human and you will make mistakes? And sometimes you will have, been really proficient at something, and maybe you go into a different phase of your life. Maybe your eyesight begins to deteriorate. Maybe your metabolism slows down. And now you pick up weight a lot quicker, right? You're not moving as much. Are you expecting for these things to happen, for changes to happen, right? Because if anything in flying, you should expect the unexpected, right? Because anything can happen and there's so many different variables. So when we think about failures and mistakes, they will happen because we're learning, because we're stretching. Are you respecting it? The fact that, you are trying. Are you inspecting it? And then, of course, from inspecting it, you get to correct it. Last week, we talked about that moment when we were flying to Lid, and I was in a PA-28, 4 POBs, during the pattern, 1,500 feet on the crosswind, descending on the crosswind to join the downwind at circuit height, 1,000 feet. And instead of pulling the power back, I pulled the mixture. But I reacted very quickly. As soon as I had that, I was like, yeah, forget this. Clearly that was the wrong lever. And I put that back in. Yeah. I've never made that mistake again. I promise you that. Because, I inspected it thoroughly and I was like, that's not going to happen. But this is also why I tell student pilots, film your lessons if you can, if your instructor will let you. All you need is your phone. That's how I started filming my lessons, right? In fact, let me show you guys something. I want to show you guys something, because sometimes we get caught up thinking that we need like the best equipment. I want to show you guys something. Food for thought. Have a look. 1,000 hours future pilots. If you're not subscribed to the YouTube, make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel. That's where I post most of my videos. The lives go on Kick, and the other videos go on the YouTube. Also, can I just say, whilst I'm here, we are up to 503 subs. Shout out to the new subscribers. Thank you. You guys are supporting the dream, man. Appreciate it. I really do. All right. But have a look at this, yeah? Because, you know, like, 1st of January, and we're coming to the end of the year, right? Everybody signs up to the gym. And you see this person, they're all kitted out in the shiniest, most brand new, colorful, brilliant gym clothes. But they're not really doing nothing. What's going on? Because sometimes we focus on the equipment, thinking that the equipment will turn us into something, right? But it's not the equipment that makes the person, it's the person that makes the equipment. So check this out. I want to show you guys what I was able to do. This episode is filmed completely with a Samsung S9.
Aviation enthusiasts, future pilot 911.
Samsung S9.
You didn't catch what I was saying then. What I'm basically saying is I got a random message from one of the WhatsApp groups I'm in, and they said, does anyone want a back seat today? IFR flight, Elstree.
Let's see. Let's go to the flight.
Approach into runway 2. That's sort of where we...
Okay.
And if you... restricted airspace.
Sorry.
Right, no, you can still leave full power, but you just have to climb...
Slowly. Not
otherwise...
that reach.
Yeah, otherwise you're gonna bust it.
Alright.
So there's 2004.
Yeah.
We level off.
Actually, let me take you guys back a little bit.
Everything.
There's this segment here where it's got music.
Keno managed to secure another Cessna 172, and Yufei scrambled to get it ready for flight.
Yeah, but this one actually just has a thing that's localizer only, so you can just do localize it, and then you can read the height and distance.
The height and distance, yeah.
And that's non-precision. That's enough to do the test.
Oh, that's good.
Okay. Yeah. Golf, echo, golf. Okay, I'm gonna just
that
golf.
This aircraft is so nice to flow with.
Yeah, very nice.
Victor Golf, clear to enter South Victoria airspace now in the climb task chute 3, down to feet, heading 090 degrees.
Just 3,000 feet is very nice and smooth.
Yeah.
It's not like in the cloud.
Victor Golf, resume that location, Sierra.
RIP this final.
This comes the procedure report on slope flight established.
The whole point to getting your IMC is you fly clouds. That's sort of where we are roughly.
Right, that was filmed exclusively with a Samsung S9. So I tell shooting pilots, if you can, record your flight, because trust me, there's so many times I go in my head after a flight, I think, yeah, nah, I did do this, I did, put the car beat away before the landing. And then I watch it back and I'm like, no, you didn't. And that helped me, and I try to maintain that. And when I don't maintain that level of awareness through using these, equipment, I do notice my performance dipping. So remember, mistakes are Eric. Failure is Eric. Expected, respected, inspected and corrected. Right? Don't jump to the correction first. Jump to the expected, respected, and then inspected, and then corrected. All right, people. Well, that wraps up my soapbox moment, my monologue for today. Speaking of today, here is something that you could actually tune into today, right after this show. You could actually literally tune into something very interesting before we go to the next segment. You could tune into this. Check it out.
Nice takeoff.
That's a screw. I was waiting for that because everyone does it.
I'm gonna make sure that you can do it. And you can do it, I know.
Can you get to the height of a double-decker bus?
How about this height?
Smoothly throttle to idle. Smoothly raise the nose.
This is floating. It's float.
Yes, man. Good food after hard days of flying, bro.
Bro, it's needed, man. That landing. Woo. I'm worn out.
Okay, so you could tune into that. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Yes, that's more like it. You could tune into that straight after this, but not a moment before. Or I will hunt you down. Listen, I will hunt you down. I will hunt you down. Do not play with me. Do not play with me. I am the captain up here. Do not play with me. Guys, I just got a message. Shall I tell you guys what the message is? Shall I tell you what the message is? Shall I tell you? Shall I tell you? Are you curious? Do you want to know? I'm going to tell you. The message says, thinking of you. Somebody's thinking about me. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Just got to reply, guys. Just got to reply, guys. All right. Anyways, we move on with the show. You know how it is. The show must go on. Show must go on. Now, we've got an update. We've got an update from the CAA. It's past the 1st of October. As most of you will know, we've covered this before, but we'll cover it again because we keep our fingers on the pulse of general aviation. And when I find out, I tell you, and hopefully we're both in the know. All right. So, 1st of October, there's some changes that come into cost sharing. CAA has published some new regulations to do with cost sharing, and this is the form that it takes. So number one, one of the key things that they're looking for is for pilots who are cost sharing to inform their passengers of the increased risk of general aviation compared to commercial air transport. Secondly, pilots will have to get their passengers to sign a declaration form, of which they'll need to keep for some time. And that declaration form will, of course, have information about the increased risk of general aviation compared to commercial air travel. Thirdly, the pilot must contribute at least an equal share of all direct costs. That means fuel, landing fees, anything, the flight itself, anything like that, direct cost for the flight, the pilot needs to contribute at least their fair share. So if it was 4 people altogether, the pilot needs to pay at least 25% of that. Number 4, the CAA only recommends platforms that have signed up to the UK cost-sharing charter, but that's just a recommendation. And number 5, pilots will have to share information with their passengers and share information about themselves on the cost-sharing platform. That includes what license they have, the medical and when it expires, how many hours have been flown in the last 3 months. That's also important, which I think all of that really makes sense, because you want to know if you're flying with a pilot that isn't current, or you want to know if you're flying with a pilot that hasn't been flying that much recently, or whether you're flying with somebody who's been flying lots recently. So I think all in all, it seems like some positive changes, and it seems like a bit of an encouragement really to fly as much as possible, because there's a recognition that actually the more cost sharing happens, the more affordable flying is. The more affordable flying is, the more people will fly. The more people fly, the more proficient they'll be. The more proficient they are, the safer the skies will be. So all in all, those are some of the key points from the cost sharing update from the CAA. Of course, if you want more information, search CAA cost sharing flights, and that is your CAA update of the week. Thank you. All right, folks. All right. Let's make it light before we make it deep, right? Because I like to think of life as life is best lived like an accordion. In fact, it is, right? Expands, contracts. It's summer, then it's autumn, then it's winter, then it's spring, then it's summer, then it's day, then it's night. It goes up, then it goes down, So let's make it light before we take it deep. Let's make it light, something light. Just if you were not convinced to watch season 1 and 2 of Future Pilot 901, if so far what I've shown you has not convinced you yet, then you should take a look at this.
1 is that Bravo 1? Bravo 1, we'd like to back up to the RP, please.
Pluto 1, nothing to affect your backtrack to RP.
Roger, backtracking, 401.
Well, you knew what you meant.
Yes, mistakes are expected, respected, inspected, and corrected. And that's a mistake I ain't made since that day. Yes. All right, so, ladies and gentlemen, next in the flight bag, things get a little bit more serious, because the AAIB has posted an update on their investigation of Golf Charlie Mike Golf Bravo. Golf Charlie Mike Golf Bravo. And sadly, this is one of those situations that actually ended up in a fatality. So RIP to the pilot, and best my thoughts and best regards to the family, really, because it's tough. I mean, it's been a year, just over a year since it happened, but loss is never easy, and the gap never gets filled. It never gets filled. But we have to learn from these experiences. We have to learn from these investigations so that we can avoid making the same mistakes, so that we can vicariously correct any mistakes, or be aware of any, risks that we were previously unaware of. So, where is it? That's the aircraft. That is the aircraft. There it looks like. Golf Charlie Mike Golf Bravo. Now, what happened? So, aircraft type registration is a Sportstar SLM Golf Charlie Mike Golf Bravo. It's got one Rotax 912 IS piston engine, manufactured in 2022. And the date and time of this accident was the 1st of September 2024 at 8:04 a.m. The location was Chesterfield, Derbyshire. Okay. And let's see if we can track down where that might have been. Or just fire up Sky Demon ready to go in case we want to get a visual of that. So, type of flight, it was a private flight. I'll show you guys. This is a private flight, one crew on board, no passengers, and as I mentioned earlier, ended up in a fatality. Nature of the damage: aircraft destroyed. Commander's license, UK National Private Pilot's license. So this is basically a step down from the PPL. The PPL is, or the private pilot's license is internationally recognized. The UK and PPL would be nationally recognized. Started September as well. There's been, October. There's been a simplification of the training, which means I believe that the NPPL won't exist anymore, and anyone doing that will be given a LAPL, depending on where they got to in their training. So there will be a light aircraft pilot's license, a LAPL, and no NPPL. Commander's age was 71 hours, 390 total hours of flying, 181 on this aircraft type. And the 90 days before, they had 46 hours. So, I mean, they were doing quite a bit of flying, an average of about 15 hours in a month for the last 3 months before the accident. Information source was the AIB field investigation. Now, let's have a look at this synopsis. What happened? After departing Cole Aston Airfield, the pilot of Golf Charlie Mike Golf Bravo encountered weather that was not compatible with flight under VFR. Following a series of descending orbits overhead Chesterfield, the aircraft departed from controlled flight and struck the ground, fatally injuring the pilot. Okay, so let's have a look. So, sounds like a classic case of a flight into IFR. So, Golf Bravo, based at Clench Common Airfield in Wiltshire and owned by the pilot, had flown from Cole Aston Airfield, also known as Apple Knoll Airstrip, on Thursday, 29th of August. Okay, let me just check that. Okay, so a couple of days before. The pilot planned to return to Clench Common on Sunday first. A friend dropped him off at Cole Aston at approximately 6:46 a.m. on the 1st of September. Can you imagine being that friend that dropped them off? That's got to be rough, man. Where CCTV recording him walk into his aircraft. Although the pilot had originally scheduled a departure at 10 a.m., he did not notify the airfield owner of his intent to leave earlier. A change he mentioned to his friend was due to thunderstorms and had been forecast on the route south later that morning. Earlier, while driving to Cole Aston, passing an area west of the airfield, which was 264 feet higher in elevation, the pilot remarked that due to the poor weather and visibility, he would have to sit it out if conditions at the airfield were similar and delay his departure. So it sounds like here at this point, he's being mindful right? It's not displaying an attitude of, hey, I'm going to go out there and fly no matter what. Like, I'm just going to make it happen. It's saying, look, hey, I'm prepared to actually delay this flight if conditions are as bad as it looks. So let's find out what happened next. CCTV recorded the pilot inspecting the aircraft and loading a bag into the cockpit at 7:25 a.m. He was seen to look in the direction of the takeoff runway 11 and interacting with a handheld mobile device. Golf Bravo started at 7:50, taxied at 7:54, and then took off runway 11 at 7:56. From the CCTV recording, the AIB assessed that the visibility was assessed. My bad. I take it back. The AIB assessed the visibility as 400 meters to the northeast and 600 meters to the east in the direction of takeoff. The height of the cloud base in the area could not be determined from the recording. Now, to give you a bit of a visual of what the flight path looked like, here it is. This is what the flight path looked like. So taking off from Corlaston Airfield, climbing turn, descending there, round, climbing a little bit, climbing 61 ground speed at this point, 2,330 feet above ground level, and then spiral descent and accident. Last recorded position at 8:03, and that is the accident site. This is a GPS track of the flight. So let's see. A witness located approximately 1 kilometer to the east of Sheepbridge Industrial Estate heard and saw a light-colored aircraft emerge from the clouds to their west. The aircraft, which appeared to be about the same height as the houses, continued briefly before turning right towards the industrial estate and then started to climb at a really steep angle until it disappeared into the cloud again. So again, this is classic into the clouds VFR flight into IMC. And it doesn't seem like it was a good idea to depart if the visibility was 400 meters in one direction, 600 meters in the other. A further witness near the accident site heard an aircraft, but could not see it due to thick cloud. Moments later, they saw a yellow and red aircraft that just fell out of the clouds. Now, where is the yellow? This is the yellow and red aircraft. It just fell out the clouds, spiraling out of control straight downwards to the ground. Witnesses variously described hearing a bang or an explosion followed by smoke rising from the direction of the sound. Now, this is one of the reasons why it's so important to prioritize safety, because now you have a bunch of people who did not accept the risk of aviation. Suddenly, you see an aircraft spiraling out of control and coming down on you. Yeah, that is a terrifying thought. That is a terrifying thought. And as much as sometimes we think, I'm just putting myself at risk, the truth is you're putting a whole bunch of people at risk. And depending on what you collide with, potentially, if there is an accident, it could really be catastrophic. Thankfully, as if you can say thankfully, in this situation, it was only one fatality, but even one is too much, The accident site. The accident site was in an industrial estate, so it could have been really well populated. Maybe it's because it was so early. Let's find out. It was the accident site was in an industrial estate with the aircraft coming to rest upright on a concrete hard standing. A post-accident fire melted parts of the aircraft structure and no fuel remained on board. The wings and tail remained attached to the fuselage, and compression damage on the wing leading edges indicated that the aircraft was in a steep nose-down attitude at impact. The canopy and windscreen had shattered, and items from the cockpit were ejected through the accident site. All three propeller blades were found inside the perimeter of the industrial estate, with the furthest being approximately 25 meters from the main wreckage. Burn documents indicated that an aircraft logbook and pilot personal logbook had been on board. Handwritten notes for a flight between Cole Aston and Clench Common were also found in the aircraft. So that's what it looks like. I'm just gonna. Okay, so this is a Czech, designed in the Czech Republic. That's interesting to know. Okay, so I'm gonna come down to. This accident was not survivable. No surprises there. No surprises there. That's the view, direction of the takeoff. Let's have a look. So this is quite a comprehensive compared to the ones I've seen, the ones that come up in the bulletin. I think it's probably because it's a fatality that it's very, very detailed. But I'll let you go and research this a little bit more if you want to know more details on this. So you got all the weather conditions. This is what it looks like, Cole Aston airfield conditions. I'm telling you the truth. I mean, there is no way we could think about taking off in this. Do you know what this reminds me of? This reminds me of, I'll show you guys. I'll show you guys what this reminds me of. If you haven't hit that subscribe button and you're on YouTube, make sure you hit the subscribe button. If you're in the chat, let me know you're in the chat. Let me know. Give me signs of life. I might just make you a model, give you a VIP badge, depending on where you are. I tell you what this reminds me of. I tell you what it reminds me of. It reminds me of one of my recent flights. Where is it? Do you guys want to see? Exclusive footage? I just remembered I haven't posted this. This is still in the edit. It's still in the editing process. But since you guys joined the show, I will share with you what is my work in progress. You get to get a sneak peek of the next video that will be posted. All right, just loading it up in Premiere Pro. All right. Okay. Here it is. I'll give you guys a sneak preview. I promise. All of this connects. Everything connects, man. Everything connects. Let's have a look. Check this out. Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. So that view to me looks very much similar to, where is it? Looks very similar to this view. I'm gonna have to stop sharing. So many tabs open. That looks very similar to this view. I'll show you guys. Bam, 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 ba, bam, bam, ba, bam, bam. To this view. And in fact, this is a bit worse, and I couldn't take off. So let's go to what they concluded. What did they conclude from this situation? What did they conclude? Pilot information, that's pretty useful. The pilot held a UK National Private Pilot's License, NPPL, issued in 2016 with an endorsement for microlights. He had flown approximately 390 hours, of which 181 was in this aircraft. Purchased in 2022, conducted 10 hours of differences training in 2022. Last flew with an instructor on the 1st of June 2024. Accident was on 1st of September 2024. Okay, so CAA PPLA syllabus includes one flight exercise where students are introduced to basic instrument flying. This is simulated instrument time, simulated IMC, or simulated IFR. The PPL skills test includes simulated entry into IMC, following which the student performs a 180 turn to escape to VMC. I can confirm I did this. In contrast, the NPPL microlight syllabus does not require the teaching of basic instrument skills. Interesting, so maybe that's what got them in trouble. So an examination of the wreckage did not identify any pre-existing faults in the flight controls, making the loss of control due such issues very unlikely. Okay. So further information, now we're going to have the conclusion. The accident occurred when the aircraft struck the ground after departing from controlled flight. This resulted from the aircraft entering meteorological conditions that were incompatible with flight under VFR and exceeded the pilot's experience and capabilities. Meteorological forecasts had indicated that conditions were likely to improve during the morning of the flight, and a low probability of thunderstorms developing along the planned route. The pilot amended his original departure time to avoid what he perceived as poor flying conditions to arrive at his destination before the weather deteriorated. However, the weather conditions at the time of departure were below the minimum required for flight under VFR. The pilot was not qualified to fly into IMC, and the evidence indicated that he subsequently lost control of the aircraft. Examination of the aircraft did not identify any pre-existing defects or anomalies that may have contributed to the flight. Okay, so very tragic situation. Very tragic situation. I just remember a joke that somebody told. They said VMC, or visual meteorological conditions, VMC, is a state of mind. They say VMC, it's not. At the time when I first heard that, I was cracking up. I was like, this is so ridiculous. I can't even imagine that somebody actually thought of it. But yeah, this is very tragic. So RIP to the captain. I wish his family well, friends and loved ones. Condolences to them. Again, I know it's a bit over a year, but these things, they continue to burn. And hopefully they burn onto our minds the importance of making safer choices, so that we can avoid things like this happening. So that is the AAIB update of the week. Speaking of the week, here is something that you could catch up on this week.
I've always loved flying.
Hello. Under the radar. Come on. Well done.
And dancing, there's no denying. If only I could blend the two. I know what I'll do. I'll fly to a new place to dance with a new face. Enjoying the wings a private pilot license brings.
That was a little bit gusty.
Just made a no-fly decision.
Squawk on switch UT, 3 shore.
A different way to our build and advance.
2-0, join downwind.
I call it fly to dance.
4 flaps. Ooh, flaps come up.
Whoa, flight, bro.
Foxtrot Sierra, welcome to shore.
We have everything in this flight, man.
Everything, bro.
Perfect. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Let's dip into the flight bag. Oh, so I actually remember something that we started the other week. We started looking at AQP, and I'm quite keen to continue that because I want to find exercises to practice to maintain proficiency and a high level of safety. And of course, it's my number one YouTuber. If you guys don't know who my number one aviation YouTuber is, you need to get to know. Ooh, what's this? Congo to the cockpit. What? Wait, I'm putting this in my watch later. Shall I show you guys what I'm looking at? Shall I share? Yeah, I'll share because I'm kind of like that. As some of you know, I am from Congo. I was born in Congo. I grew up in Kenya, matured in London, where I then began to live my dream. But this, anything to do with aviation and then Congo, I definitely want to watch that. But we want to go to Man United actually won this weekend, thank goodness. We want to go to Aviation 101. AQP is what we're looking for. And
now to the investigation underway.
So we watched episode 1 last week, so we're going to look at episode number 2.
Big Bear City traffic, Skyhawk 80991, making an aborted takeoff, runway 8, Big Bear City. Skyhawk 80991, we're a Cessna 172, information Lima, over here at the T-hangars. Like to request taxi out for a practiced rejected takeoff.
Skyhawk 991, roger, runway 8, taxi via Alpha.
8 via Alpha, 80991, thanks.
Welcome to part 2 of the AQP Grassroots series, where Dan Grider is teaching me, a young, inexperienced CFI, how to change the way I give recurrent flight training to general aviation pilots. We're facing a real problem in general aviation with an astounding fatal accident rate when compared to the airlines. And Dan has applied his experience as an airline captain and instructor to introduce the airline training concept of AQP to general aviation. If you want to learn more about what AQP is and why we're doing this in the first place, go check out part 1 of this AQP Grassroots series. Before you go any further, there, go download the PDF document that goes along with this whole series. That document contains an outline of all of these fatal accident scenarios, all of these statistics for these fatal accidents, all of that kind of stuff. And if you make yourself familiar with the contents of that AQP supplement document, the videos in this series are going to make a bit more sense. So head over to aviation101.com/AQP Grassroots and go download that PDF. Print that document out, get to know it, love it, modify it, make it your own so you can teach this stuff on your own. But if nothing else, go download that document. It has a wealth of information in there that'll be super beneficial to understanding this series. I'm giving an AQP flight review to 3 pilots who we also introduced in part 1, one of whom is my very own dad. These flight reviews are focusing on the scenarios that are known for taking pilots by surprise and killing them. And first up on our list to practice is the rejected takeoff. So first of all, what is a rejected takeoff? If you've never heard of that before, it's basically what it sounds like. You reject the takeoff, or you aborted the takeoff. Effectively, you as the pilot got some cue during the takeoff roll that something's not right. Maybe the airplane's not performing as it should. You have a failure of some sort, or the engine starts running rough. Maybe you've got more of a tailwind than you expected. Any number of these things could cause you to want to abort the takeoff, but basically something was not right, and you made the decision to close the throttle and get on the brakes and stop the takeoff. Rejected takeoffs are something we don't really talk about in general aviation. The clip you just watched at the beginning of the video was a rejected takeoff I did back in 2015 in a real-world scenario. I'll make a separate video on that takeoff at a later time because there were a number of things we did wrong there, but the point is I made the decision as pilot in command of that aircraft to close the throttle and put the airplane back down on the runway because something didn't feel right, and I'm alive and so is that airplane because of that.
So we say mistakes or failures are expected, respected, inspected, corrected. That includes engine failures. That includes partial engine failures. I can just imagine like being in that situation and not expecting for anything to go wrong. As I did for most of the time that I was training. I think as soon as I was close to getting my license, it became more real that actually things can go wrong and I need to be prepared for it. And that's what the captain's brief is about. So before you take off, there's a captain's brief where you basically talk through the eventualities, right? Engine failure on takeoff, maybe an issue. You talk about your abort point, because that could be one of the issues that come up where your engine's not firing up that well and you decide to abort the takeoff because, of course, if you don't, you could be going right into the fence or the ridge or the ditch at the end of the runway. A big part of reacting quickly, as we're going to see, is actually expecting it and training your mind that, okay, something could happen here and I'm ready. I know what to do. And that's huge. The amount of time you save from expecting it. And my mentor used to say, hope for the best, but prepare for the worst, So all of this is being reinforced as I watch this.
But before I encountered that real-world scenario in 2015, I had never given any thought or consideration to a rejected takeoff. I really didn't even know what it was. Luckily, in that instance, I had the mental presence about me in that plane, in that situation, to say, this is not working, and I pulled the throttle back to idle and put it down on the runway and rejected the takeoff. And that was a pretty wicked eye-opener for me. Rejected takeoffs are practiced constantly in the airline's recurrent training. But why don't we talk about it in general aviation? It's just as relevant and it can be just as fatal. In the first quarter of 2020, we already saw 3 fatal general aviation accidents having to do with the pilot not rejecting the takeoff when something was clearly wrong. One of these accidents was Bonanza 36 Tango Tango in Corona, California. The airplane never got airborne and plowed into the airport fence at the other end of the runway at full speed, flipped over and caught on fire. All 4 people were trapped inside and burned alive.
Respond to an aircraft emergency.
Heartbreaking moments at the airport in Corona.
A plane's down.
In all, 4 people were killed when this departing single-engine Bonanza crashed through a fence, hit a berm, landed upside down, and then caught fire.
The 4 victims in the plane did suffer extensive burn injuries.
The Corona Fire Department says once that amount of fuel ignited, there was no chance of survival.
We tried to take off 3 times. and didn't get much more than 2 or 3 feet off the ground.
The wind's showing to go this direction, so normal departure is into the wind.
But investigators say the plane traveled from west to east on the runway, attempting to take off downwind.
Psychologically, it's tough for a lot of pilots. You want to go.
But pilot Walt Snyder says at some point, if the plane's not lifting off for whatever reason, it's best to abort.
He didn't pull back to stop.
Rejected takeoff, RTO, is something that a lot of people don't mentally prepare themselves for. The takeoff roll is a very high stress time, right? You're paying attention to a lot of things. You're watching your airspeed, you're watching the runway. What we want to do here is define a metric that we can use on the takeoff roll to identify when something isn't right. One way to do this is to time your takeoff roll, and if it takes longer than your predetermined time based on your conditions, you abort. In the past, I've used distance for this instead of time. It's always worked out really well.
If we are not airborne by runway 826, the intersection of 826, we are aborting.
Got it.
Got it? Got it. High density altitude. That's really important to have an abort plan. If we're not off by 826, we're going to abort the takeoff.
The idea is to give yourself some metric that you can easily identify on the takeoff roll. I like to use like a large runway marking like the 1,000-foot markers or a taxiway or runway intersection, something like that. Those are clearly defined distance metrics that you can see with your peripherals as they go by you on your takeoff roll. You never know when something isn't going to be right on the takeoff roll. It could be that your engine isn't putting out as much power as it's supposed to. Maybe you have more of a tailwind than you thought you would. Or density altitude is higher than you calculated. All of these instances will yield a longer takeoff roll than you expect. And that's why it's so important to be ready with an abort point and stick to it. If you're not wheels up and climbing by your abort point, just reject the takeoff and figure out why your roll was taking longer than expected once you vacated the runway. At the end of our before takeoff checklist in the Cessna 172, we have an item that reminds us to brief the abort plan. And this ought to be on every single pre-takeoff checklist. I really don't know why it's not. Is there such a thing as a rejected takeoff on any FAA single engine check ride?
Not that I'm aware of, not that I've been.
If maybe your density altitude is higher than you thought it was. Mm-hmm. Or maybe pilot controlled field, you taxi to the wrong end of the runway, you read the windsock wrong.
Okay.
You haven't had your coffee yet.
Yeah.
You read the windsock wrong, right? We want to have a defined set of criteria. One piece of criteria is all we need. As a defined point when we will either continue the takeoff or reject the takeoff. Okay, if we're not off by taxiway Bravo, I'm aborting this takeoff. Something's wrong. Mm-hmm. Or if we're going to Oshkosh and we're real heavy at max gross, if we're not crossing the intersection of 1331 and we're not, if we've crossed that and we're not getting light and getting airborne, we're aborting the takeoff. Something's wrong.
I'm excited. It's going to do all kinds of maneuvers. Going to actually put into use all the things we talked about in theory on the ground.
The first exercise to run through on these flight reviews is to practice the rejected takeoff, and we'll simply make ground control aware of what we want to do, and so long as they're not too busy, they can work with us.
So what we're going to do first, while we're here at San Marcos, we've got all these nice long runways, right? We're going to run through a drill and practice a rejected takeoff. But we'll go out to a runway that they're not using, and once you go full power, I'm going to reach up here and just give you a simulated power loss. I'm going to pull your throttle back a bit. Okay. As if you have a sick engine, or perhaps you have a tailwind, dragging brakes, whatever it may be. And 12 Charlie Delta, we're at a Cirrus SR-20 over here at the T-Hangars. Information Echo. We'd like to run a drill here and do a practice rejected takeoff. We'd actually like to reject a takeoff. If we could use perhaps a runway that's inactive, that'd be great. We basically just want to do a high-speed taxi and reject the takeoff.
Cirrus 12 Charlie Delta, plan on runway 8 and up to Charlie, and we are using runway 13.
Cirrus 12 Charlie Delta, not entirely sure we'd be able to stop before Charlie. Any chance we could use 17 for that?
Cirrus 12 Charlie Delta, roger. Runway 17, you can plan on that, and taxi via Alpha Bravo, Charlie Juliet, cross runway 8 and hold short of runway 13.
Okay, we'll taxi to runway 17 via Alpha Bravo, Charlie Juliet, cross 8, hold short of 13, 12 Charlie Delta. We appreciate it.
Right. Okay, before taxiing check the parking way is off, brakes check, we've checked those. Orientation, check, attitude gyro, turn coordinator, check. It's all in here, so next checklist.
Basically what I'm going to do here is let the pilot set takeoff power and begin the takeoff roll. I'm going to sneak my CFI hand in there and reduce their power a bit to simulate a sick engine. Now this reduced power could also simulate a tailwind, a high density altitude, any of those. Reducing the power is just how we're going to simulate a longer than expected takeoff roll. The point here is not necessarily for the pilot to recognize that the engine instruments don't look right, but more so for them to identify when they're passing their predetermined abort point recognize that we're not airborne when we should have been, and I want to see that recognition lead them to reject the takeoff on their own without me prompting them. All I'm there to do is reduce the power a bit to simulate a longer takeoff roll, and I want to see them take action from there. Rob in the Cirrus is up first, and Dan caught what was about to be a miscommunication. Rob didn't seem like he totally understood the drill that was about to happen because I didn't explain it very well. So we all spent a few extra minutes at the foot of the runway to kind of explain what was about to happen on the runway.
I'll talk for just a second while we're holding short and brakes are set. What Josh said was that our rejected takeoff, he's not going to necessarily chop your throttle. After you set power for takeoff, he's going to ease a little power back to simulate giving you a sick engine. So your airplane is not going to make proper thrust. So after you set thrust, you're going to see his hand come up, and he's going to ease a little bit of power back. You'll see that you're going to be still rolling when you pass your point where you should have been airborne. Then you make your decision. Right. You don't make your decision when he simulates your sick engine because you haven't decided yet. You haven't got to your metric yet. But when you get to that threshold and the airplane's not flying, then you say, well, obviously there's something wrong. I got dragon brakes. I got a mag problem. I got some kind of problem. This airplane is not making thrust. Okay. Got it.
Series 2, Charlie Delta, cross runway 13, the Cessna is departing, and then continue with your taxi to runway 17.
Okay, we'll cross runway 13, continue to 17, 12 Charlie Delta.
That makes sense, Josh?
That absolutely makes sense.
Okay.
That
was good explaining because now it's clear.
Yeah.
For demonstration purposes, Rob declared the 1,000 foot markers as his abort point. So in other words, if we're not getting light and ready to get airborne by passing the 1,000 foot markers, we're going to abort the takeoff.
And I basically want to see you reject the takeoff if we are not airborne by the 1,000 foot markers. We won't be airborne.
Right.
So what you're going to do is you're going to go full power. I'm going to sneak my hand in here and make your engine sick. I'm going to reduce the power, and you're going to start accelerating real slowly. Something's not going to feel right.
What's going on? Yep.
And you need to identify when we blow past the 1,000 foot markers, we need to abort. We're not off the ground. That sound good?
Sounds good. Sounds good.
Okay. San Marcos Tower, Cirrus 12 Charlie Delta is holding short of runway 17 Juliet. We're ready to execute our rejected takeoff here.
Cirrus 2 Charlie Delta, your high-speed abort is approved down runway 17.
High-speed abort approved down runway 1712 Charlie Delta. We'll exit at Foxtrot.
Sounds good, sir. And you can cross runway 13, contact ground on Foxtrot.
Okay, we'll cross 3-1 and we'll contact ground on Foxtrot 12 Charlie Delta.
Okay, one last check of the windsock, almost directly down the runway. Lined up. Airspeed's alive. Whoa, something going on here. My fuel flow is low, my RPMs are low, abort. Something wrong.
I thought they said don't worry about any of that, just focus on the abort point. And once you pass the abort point, you're not airborne, then you reject it because you're not airborne, not because of your fuel flow, not because of your RPM, not because of anything like that. But it's so hard sometimes to take in information, right there in the moment. I don't know, obviously, how much they spoke before, but sometimes, instructors, do you know what instructors be like? I'll show you what instructors be like. Sometimes instructors be like this. I'll show you exactly what instructors be like. Sometimes instructors be like this.
Instructor?
Yeah?
So what are we going to do in the lesson?
Let's get the engine started, and then I'll explain it to you, okay? Come on.
Oh, why do we need to start the engine?
Sorry?
Why do we need to start the engine?
I can't hear you. We need to start the engine. Huh? Come, we need to start the engine.
Instructor?
Yeah?
So
Yep. Sometimes instructors be like that, where they just kind of want to get you in the aircraft. But of course, that's where explanations make the least sense because there's so much going on, So maybe that's why he missed it, but I just noticed that wasn't exactly what was briefed. Anywho, but obviously that's down to the instructors to explain it at a time when the student can actually take it in. But also mistakes are expected, respected, inspected, and corrected. So it's natural to make a mistake. That's what the instructor is there for. Anywho, let's go back to the video.
Wrong. And we'll roll out to the end. We'll debrief that when we're off. Alright, so we'll get past the hold line entirely and we'll come to a stop and execute that after landing checklist.
Okay, sounds good.
Make sure the airplane's on.
Power level 1000, fuel pump comes off, PWC is off. Okay.
Good deal. Okay, so yeah, so you obviously noticed a change in the engine. Obviously, I reached up and pulled the power back. What we want to really focus on is your defined abort point. So you aborted maybe about 200 or 300 feet past the 1,000-foot markers, or maybe about 200 feet or so. So basically, once we were past those 1,000-foot markers, we're not airborne, so it should be an automatic abort, which you pretty much did. You just kind of verified it with the engine instruments and stuff like that. But that's why we define a point that you can easily identify on the runway. And as soon as you see it past your peripherals, I'm not in the air, abort. That's what we're looking for on the RTO. That's part of pre-flight preparation. You want to identify on the chart, okay, what are my markings on the runway? What can be my rejection point? I usually do that, looking at ForeFlight before I get in the plane. Okay, this is what runway we're going to use. I've got plenty of taxiways that I can call my abort point. I'm going to call it this taxiway, etc.
Yep.
So, but other than that, it was real good. So you got radios.
Okay.
You can go ahead and call ground. Did you have anything at
we're good.
Okay. Go ahead and call ground and tell them we're off runway 35 Fox and we want to depart eastbound.
We pretty much covered the important parts there. We want to reject mainly based on the fact that we're not airborne by our abort point. But Rob handled it very nicely. Judging the health of the takeoff solely by reference to your engine instruments won't always paint the full picture for you. Let's take my rejected takeoff in Big Bear back in 2015 as an example for this. We got off the ground right about where we thought we would, and the engine was performing as expected. But what kept us from climbing was a gust front that hit us from behind on the takeoff roll, robbing us of the airspeed we needed to climb. And after a few seconds of the airplane struggling to climb, I decided to close the throttle and set it back down while I still could. Next up is Miles in the Cherokee. I had to be a bit more proactive with reducing the throttle in this airplane because with the STOL kit, I know this thing can leave the ground pretty easily.
Alright, so our abort plan, we should be at rotate speeds out of 1,000 footers. If we're not, we'll pull power, get on the brakes.
This rejected takeoff, I'm going to block your throttle. If I need to reduce your throttle a little bit, I might do that.
Okay.
If I need to, I'm going to start kind of pushing your throttle back a little bit, just so we're not going to get to rotation speed. San Marcos Tower, Cherokee 8859 November is holding short of runway 31 at Foxtrot, ready to do our high-speed aborted takeoff on runway.
Can you just see, this is valuable training where you're not, it's supposed to be part of revalidation training. So this is you've done all your climbing, descending, you've done your stalls, you've done all of that. You've got your license. Now it's about staying fresh, keeping your skills up to date, really, keeping your skills fresh. And this is just valuable. It's things that we don't take the time to do. And unfortunately, not doing them, can have huge consequences.
Runway 35.
The Cherokee 59 in November, the traffic lifted up just a bit. You have a window here, so runway 31, you can go on runway 31 for your taxi.
Okay, we'll enter runway 31 for this rejected takeoff, and we'll exit the runway at the end on Juliet, and we'll get ready for a takeoff.
Approve as requested.
Appreciate it. All right, runway 31 now, so that's good.
All right.
Doesn't change your criteria, right?
No.
So 6318 Delta San Marcos Tower, report left downwind for runway 13.
Report left downwind for runway 13.
Cessna 6318 Delta, report left downwind runway 13 and say your altitude.
And we don't have any airspeed.
4,100 and report left downwind for runway 1318 Delta.
Beautiful.
Never made airspeed.
Good. Very nicely executed. You were very aware of where your criteria was. And you want to pick something that's nice and easy to see, so we'll debrief that a little bit more when we get off the runway up here. We'll just kind of keep a high-speed taxi up here. That's a rejected takeoff.
Excellent.
Did you like how that was executed?
Yep.
Dan? Okay.
Yep.
Now we'll just do a U-turn right here. So you pick up on the fact that you're not making the airspeed you should, you're not feeling the acceleration you should, you know, taking into consideration your weight and all that good stuff. We also had a tailwind, too, so that contributed. And you saw your criteria, these big white blocks painted on the runway, you're passing them and you're not anywhere close. The airplane's not even getting light. Right. So you just say, oh, no, we don't like this.
I think that's a really important point, actually. So the point is reject your takeoff based on the distance, right? The other guy did it based on fuel flow and RPM and all that jazz. But what if your RPM is good, your fuel flow is good, but you're too heavy or the density altitude is higher than what you thought of? You're going to have the RPM, you're going to have the fuel flow, you're just not going to have the performance. So if you're focusing on the instruments, it just hit me that actually you may not notice the most important thing, which is the performance, right? Because all your instruments will actually be green, will be perfect, but the aircraft performance wouldn't be. So it's really important to have a defined distance and use that as the main indicator. And then afterwards you can kind of cross-reference and figure it all out as far as the instruments are concerned.
We're chopping the power and we're aborting. That was perfectly executed. Great. Any notes?
Good.
All right, good to go.
My dad's rejected takeoff was also very well done, but he did pick a point pretty far down the runway, which in and of itself isn't necessarily a bad thing when you've got this much pavement to work with. But for the sake of departing on a shorter runway, we want to choose an abort point that's not too far beyond where we think we'll actually rotate, so we can make that decision to abort sooner rather than later. Basically, when you're picking your abort point, be as realistic as you can and get it close to where you actually think you're going to rotate.
You're going to identify whether we're at rotation speed, whether we're getting light or not. And if we're not getting light by your abort point, you know what to do. And I want to see you do it. Does that make sense? Is there anything I skipped over there, Dan? Anything
You're
you
good.
want? Okay. San Marcos Tower, Skyhawk 80991 is holding short of runway 8 at Alpha, ready to execute our practice rejected takeoff.
Cessna 80991, San Marcos Tower, roger. Approve as requested, runway 8.
Approved as requested, runway 8, and we'll hold short of 17 when we get to the end.
Roger.
All right. All right, yeah, whenever you're ready. That's all you get.
Something's wrong with the engine here.
Something's wrong, so what do you do?
We're coming on Bravo here. I'm going to go ahead and abort.
All right. So there you go. We'll back taxi 17 and get off the runway at the end, and we'll debrief that.
Cessna 991, you can turn left on the runway 17, back taxi runway 17, advisor ready for departure.
Okay, we'll turn left 17, back taxi. We'll exit on Juliet if that's okay, and we'll advise you when we're ready.
Roger, hold short of runway 17 on Juliet.
We'll hold short 17 on Juliet, 991. So that was good on the rejected takeoff. I think Bravo was pretty far down there.
It was.
The entire point of that exercise is to be able to identify very easily on the runway where your abort point is and know when you're passing it, and you did that.
Would Bravo be okay because you had plenty of runway past that, but if you weren't up by Bravo.
For sure if you're not off by Bravo.
So should you pick something more reasonable, closer in?
I try to pick something within reason. That way I can tell, first of all, as soon as possible, and also that helps you determine whether you've got a sick engine or not. Because, you know, if we were to crunch the numbers, we would have said, okay, we can definitely be up and climbing by the 1,000-foot markers. You'd be able to tell sooner that we've got a sick engine.
So we could still been ready to fly by Bravo, but that's way too long, so there still probably would have been a problem with the
Right,
engine.
we're not producing
If we were-
power,
yeah.
we've got brakes dragging, something's not right. The point of that exercise is to be able to recognize when you're coming up to your abort point, we're not ready to fly, something's not right, to brake,
but that's way
that we've got a sick engine.
So we could still...
This is a really good point he makes here, actually. Really good point. Really good
Climbing by the 1,000-foot markers. You'd be able to tell sooner that we've got a sick engine.
So we could
Here it
still
comes.
been ready to fly by Bravo, but that's way too long, so there still probably would have been a problem with the
Right,
engine.
we're not...
Right, so what he's saying is, they could have, by the time they got to Bravo, because it was so long, if they had a sick engine, there is a chance that with a sick engine, they could have got up to rotate speed. But that, of course, is way too long to get up to rotate speed. So if you took you that long, you probably shouldn't continue anyways. So further reinforcing why it's important to actually pick a realistic distance for your rejected takeoff, or the point at which you would reject the takeoff. So that's actually really, really, really good point. I thought that was very good. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Okay, let's finish this up.
Producing power, we've got brakes dragging, something's not right. The point of that exercise is to be able to recognize when you're coming up to your abort point, we're not ready to fly, something's not right, you didn't meet your criteria, you're aborting the takeoff. That makes sense?
Yeah.
So you did a good job. What do you have for that,
Good,
Dan? Okay.
good.
All right, so that's the rejected takeoff. So you've got the radios. Now we're going to depart eastbound.
Rejected takeoffs are something we just don't talk about in general aviation very much. To most pilots, the option of closing the throttle and aborting the takeoff roll never crosses their mind. It never crossed my mind before that scenario in 2015, and I got lucky with that one. Sitting in the comfort of your own home watching this video, it may seem like it's an obvious option that if something's wrong, just abort the takeoff. But when was the last time that you advanced the throttle to take off power and you were actively thinking about and ready to reject the takeoff? When will you make the decision to abort or not? And is there a particular point on the runway that you need to make that decision by if things don't look right? Think about these things next time you're going to go fly, because quite frankly, your life and your passengers' lives depend on it. Like I said, in the first quarter of 2020, we've already had 3 fatal accidents regarding rejected takeoff. Do you feel as though we in general aviation are adequately prepared for a rejected takeoff scenario? In this instructor's opinion, no, we're not. So let's change that. This video is a part of an entire series called AQP Grassroots, where Dan and I are trying to change the mindset of the pilot community in general aviation when it comes to recurrent training. We're not looking to change the rules or regs or get the government involved here or there. We don't need that. What we need is for the general aviation pilot community as a whole to start taking their lives a lot more seriously when it comes to flying. And we can do that by getting serious about our recurrent training. And this is where we start that conversation. That is AQP Grassroots.
Look at the view. Oh, lush.
I hope you got
lush. So that gives me an idea. You know, one thing I definitely say to PPL students, which is really hard for a PPL student to do, is to own your training. Own your training. You need to know exactly the exercises that you're going to do, know what you're doing this lesson, next lesson, the lesson after that. Have an idea of where it's going. Know all the criteria that you need to meet to be eligible for your license, and kind of tick them off as you go. Because when you don't know and you don't have a plan, things just don't usually work out. You end up paying more, doing more lessons than is necessary, not really strategizing to be efficient. But that shouldn't just be for training. That should be also throughout. So that's made me think, you know, maybe what I will do, in fact, I will start a document now. I will start a folder right now. So I'm actually putting it into action. What I'm going to do is I'm going to create my own training. And then when it comes to recurring, I'll be like, hey, I'll look at my instructor, I'll be like, here's my training plan. Can you take me through this, please? I bet they're going to be like, they're going to go crazy because like usually people don't own it, you know. So, but you need to own your training. It's your own development. It's your life at the end of the day. So why not own it? So I'm going to do that, but I want to do that. I want to start it before I end this live because I want to put action. Action pronto. That's what they say. Take action immediately. Do not wait to take action. Where can I put this? Should I put flights, flight planning, flight training? Should I put it down as recurrent training? Recurrent training. Yeah, of course, recurrent training. Recurrent training. And in that folder, I'm going to create a Google Doc. See, this is what this show is about for me, accountability. I'm going to call it my training plan. And then what I can do is I can actually notice some of the things that, you know, I'm like, I could brush up on that. Things to, I'll share the screen. Things to work, things to brush up on. Then I also want things to practice. It doesn't really matter. By the way, when you start a new idea, it doesn't really matter how, like, especially when it comes to writing or planning, sometimes people want to have the perfect plan immediately. The trick is don't edit yourself. The trick is just put something down. Put something down. Otherwise, you end up in analysis paralysis. Things to practice. Okay. Practice with an S when it's a verb. And practice with a C when it's a noun. Okay, so things to brush up on. I had an idea. Things to practice. Reject to take off. I'll put that one there. Things to brush up on. Landing distance. Yeah. So at least I've started something. Cool. There we go. I'm happy. I feel better now. I've actually started taking action. All right. Well, that brings us to the end of today's or this week's show. Thank you very much to each and every one of you who's been able and willing and has actually taken the action to join. Thank you very much. Your time is very much appreciated. Your eyeballs mean a lot to me. Your eyeballs mean so much to me. Thank you to the new subscribers. Thank you to those who have been following and supporting the channel for a long time. There's quite a few of you. I appreciate your encouraging comments. I appreciate you sharing the videos. I appreciate your responses. Thank you very much. So, what's your takeaway from this episode? What can you apply in your life this week, starting today from this episode? Could it be, Eric, that mistakes and failures are expected, respected, inspected, and corrected? Could it be owning your own training, owning recurrent training? What could it be? What could it be? Let me know. Let me know. But most importantly, let yourself know, because that's who matters most. Anyways, I'm going to be out of here. I'm going to go sleep. I've had a crazy weekend. I won't tell you what I did, but I won't say any more than that. I had a crazy weekend, so I have to go rest and sleep because tomorrow I go to war. I don't mean literally. I mean, sometimes people like to test you. People like to test your resolve. They like to test and see what you're made of. And so you have to kind of, professionally escalate. And that's actually a pilot skill. It's actually a communication skill. You have to know how to escalate and de-escalate, right? Because sometimes people are freaking out, and they need to hear certainty. Excuse me, we now need to stop that. And I've worked as a teacher, so trust me, I can put my teacher voice, and that was me at like 30%. So I can escalate. And sometimes you need to escalate. Sometimes you need to let people know that you mean business. And if they try it, they will be surprised. So tomorrow I go to war. But today, we rest. But in a professional war, with all professional care. If you want to know what I'm talking about, you will never know. You will never. Anywho, I hope you have a blessed week. I hope you enjoy yourself, whatever you're doing. But above all, I wish that you would live your dream this week. If you want to be entered into the draw to win a brand new one of these ones, either in my favorite white, I need to clean this actually. Favorite whites, cool blue, or the classic black, just drop a comment saying live your dream and you will be entered into the draw. The winner gets to choose the color that they want and it will be sent to them. So I wish you a great productive week. Above all, I wish that you will make progress towards the dream, towards the thing that makes you most alive, towards the thing that fills you with joy and makes you forget how temporary, how short life is, because you're just so locked in. Above all, ladies and gentlemen, I wish that this very week you will live your dream. Until next time, my name is Dee, your favorite future captain. This is Future Pilot 901, live on Kick and YouTube every Monday, 7 p.m. British summertime. And I'm reminding you to live your dreams. Peace. Peace.
Man, from living in my car to finally getting my trial flight done. To being in this moment. Hey, come on. Well done. Was it worth the sacrifice? Oh man.
Pull back. May pull back more. Hold it there. Pull back. 52 south of radar 130. Bit more.
Listen. Was it worth the sacrifice?
So, power right on. Center line.
Listen, if you have a dream, it's down to you to make it happen, man. You might give it everything and it might still not work, but guess what? The journey makes you a better, stronger person. Can you imagine what kind of person you would become if you didn't pursue the one thing that you thought was the best thing in the world? You didn't pursue it. What kind of person does that make you after 20, 30 years of doing that? But when you chase what you believe is the most valuable, the most beautiful, the most awesome thing that you can do, and you give it everything, win or lose, you become a better person.